Well, for months, when it was politically useful to them, all the people on TV told you there was no crisis at the border. The very idea was absurd, and you were a moron for thinking it. Well, now it turns out they were just reciting DNC talking points, which is what they do every single day. So what is actually going on at the border? Buck Sexton was there just a short time ago. He's a former CIA analyst, now with The Hill, and he joins us tonight. Buck, I'm starting to suspect that everything I'm hearing about immigration from the other side is a lie, that there's no good faith at all, that all of it is propaganda. Is that fair?
It's a long series of lies. Walls don't work. We finally figured out, I think, as a country, that's not true. There's no crisis at the border. That's not true. The caravans will never make it to the border. That's not true. Lie after lie after lie that the media has told. But now that we have new data, it's impossible for them to continue to pretend it's not a crisis. So they say it's only a humanitarian crisis. It's actually multiple crises. There is a humanitarian component, no question about it. But that also ties into the national security component, because now the cartels make sure that when there's a large group that surrenders at the border in one area, guess what? They run the drugs in a sector that they now know has all the Border Patrol agents tied down. So it directly ties into fentanyl. Methamphetamine, by the way, DEA says maybe at the highest usage ever right now in this country. People even talk about meth usage because the opioid crisis is so bad. And by the way, the numbers that
that's coming from Mexico.
And being made in high-end laboratories in Mexico, laboratories that you would expect for a Pfizer or a big pharma company. They're churning them out. And the big problem here, Tucker, is that it's going to get worse, because the laws that we have are such that the people now who show up at the border who have a child are guaranteed to stay. There is no way to change this. I was on your show, actually, that other activist gentleman was on a few months ago, and we had this exchange where it was, why couldn't the entire country of Guatemala just say, well, as long as I have a kid, I'm going to come to the U.S. border and know that I'll get into the United States. Under the law right now, we are testing that theory out. The word is out. The numbers are going to get bigger, and we have no means of stopping this right now unless Congress actually does something, because this is what the law says.
And if you complain about it, you're a bigot. Would any other country put up with this?
Absolutely not. And this is what you really see, and I think this also came up in your last segment, is the Democratic Party is not opposed to illegal immigration. I mean, I think that's pretty
Well, they're not
blatantly
for America. They're actively against America. I mean, I don't think there's any other. I'm a charitable person. It's Ash Wednesday. I want to be a good Christian. But I don't know what other conclusion you reach.
Well, they don't believe in sovereignty. In fact, if you use the word sovereignty now, people in the Democratic Party look at you a little bit strangely. Rule of law, obviously, is largely out the window here. They keep saying, they play this game of, if you surrender, you're seeking asylum. Well, as we know, people within 24 hours often now, because they've overwhelmed the system. And this is intentional. We also know this from Border Patrol. They have been told. They have seen this themselves. People are now showing up. They know the system. They know the game. And if they have a kid with them, guess what? They're going to be on a plane in many cases to wherever they want in the United States, never to be seen again by U.S. authorities. So that's also very different. When people were playing this game, this is another lie, Tucker, about how the numbers aren't as bad now as they used to be. Well, the numbers in 2005 and the 1990s, when that was a particular surge of illegal immigration, a lot of those people were being deported back to Mexico right away. It was really a catch and release back into Mexico often, whereas now these other than Mexican, OTM is what they call them, when they get to the border, they can't be sent immediately and deported back into Mexico, so they get released in the interior of the United States, and no serious person thinks they're going to be deported. This is an open door policy. If you have a kid, we have an open border right now if you come from a non-contiguous country and you show up and say, I want to stay. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
Crazy. And if you tolerate it, you clearly, it's a hostile act against the country. I don't see any other way to read it. Buck Sexton, thank you so much. Great to see you, as always.